Hello there, my very good friends. On today's wrestling news, a WWE star turns down a Hall of Fame.
What's going on with The Rock? We'll tell you.
WWE are happy with a thing.
And Stevie Richards shares a hilarious memo about Triple H.
Ding, ding, ding. I'm Andy Murray.
I'm Michael Hamflet.
All right, it's the news. This is the news.
It definitely is.
I think Adam's back in the UK now, but he's not back at work for another week or so. But I can feel his presence in the soil.
He's
That's why
large.
this is the news. It's becoming more and more enthusiastic with the day.
Rising up.
Until we get back there next
soil.
week. Right, speaking of soil, I don't know what that means, but a WWE wrestler has turned down a Hall of Fame induction. This is a shambles. AJ Styles. He does not want to be in the TNA Hall of Fame. So, it was originally reported, that's way out of context. He doesn't want to be in it yet, I should say.
I think it's so.
Yeah, I hate TNA. So, Fightful reported yesterday that the TNA had broached the possibility of AJ being inducted into their Hall of Fame. And you think, well, TNA and WWE have this relationship, and AJ's a TNA legend, so hey, that would make sense. But apparently WWE passed on the opportunity. This is the Fightful report. Wrestlers weren't specifically told why, but people in TNA believed it was due to AJ's injury or active storyline. There was some hopes as well that AJ might be open to wrestling in TNA, but there's no word on whether or not that was actually discussed. Mm-hmm. So AJ, and wrestlers often lie, so take this with a pinch of wrestler. Yeah. AJ crawled out of whatever corner of the flat earth he's occupying at the moment and posted to Twitter, I'm still an active wrestler, I hope. I hope. That's just funny. I made the decision not to go into the TNA Hall of Fame, not WWE. I appreciate TNA, but I don't want to go into any Hall of Fame as long as I'm still active. My choice. That's a pretty admirable thing to do, for sure. I think that it was the WWE policy for ages and ages. Is that if you're still wrestling or you're on TV every week or whatever, we're not going to put you in the Hall of Fame. Wait. I like the idea of waiting until a career is whole, waiting until it's complete, and it's this beginning to end thing, and it's all, well, insofar as that is possible in wrestling, because,
it's never over.
The Terry Funk rule, you're going to come out of retirement 20 times. Rest in peace to the legend. But I think it's quite an admirable approach from him, and I think that I'd like to see more of that. People go, no, I'm not done yet. Let's discuss that when I'm finished.
Yeah, I mean, to your point there, the Edge went in 2011, 2012 or something, and look where we are now. And there would have been wrestlers that probably would have been injured. I thought they are done, even earnestly not intended to return. A Shawn Michaels, for example, that ultimately ended up returning and could go in a multiple different Hall of Fames, multiple different roles. AJ Styles, at this point, he must view the TNA Hall of Fame with some sort of prestige rather than just a nice tribute to his run there, because it's not like you can imagine him going back to TNA for it. He might do something as part of this working agreement, but certainly never as a full-time. You would never imagine him being back in TNA's ranks. So he must see TNA's Hall of Fame as a place where he says goodbye to wrestling full stop, rather than simply fondly recalls his time in that organisation. So I guess you can see that. I kind of would have had it make sense from WWE's point of view as well, because they letting their wrestlers go out to sort of other places now is more the done thing than it used to be. But to do that and make it seem like one of your top guys is kind of over the hill or out to pasture, that's not very WWE, is it? They don't want you to be. They don't want that perception of their wrestlers to be that they're old hat or they're old news.
Creakers.
So I can kind of see how all of this hasn't happened. But if anything, bizarrely, I do think in both cases it pays a lot of respect to the TNA Hall of Fame, and we've talked about Hall of Fames ad nauseum on videos like this, and everywhere really. Halls of Fames are just nice nights for legends to sort of share a few stories and talk about the old days with their friends,
see their mates.
And if anything, most wrestlers probably are worthy of some sort of spot in some sort of Hall of Fame. It's one of the more pointless debates every year, because it used to be just at the whim of a Vince McMahon or at the whim of whoever's controlling the TNA one. The Cauliflower Alley and the Wrestling Observer, they've got slightly different criteria, but otherwise, it's just nice nights for the old guys, isn't it? I can kind of understand why both WWE and AJ didn't want to kind of call him an old guy in such a public setting just yet.
Yeah, for sure. It's a ceremonial thing, of course, and you can judge how prestigious you view it or don't view it, whatever. I think that it's just nice for people to get the gold watch at the end of a career well spent.
Yeah. I mean, obviously with watches, that'd probably confuse AJ Styles because you need the balance of the earth to keep on. Hey, how's this chronograph staying on track? Speaking of other future
watches do not respect the business.
They do not respect the business. Only thing that's real is the money and the miles, not the ticking and the talking. But speaking of the ticking and the talking, we got the Rickin' and the Rockin' because he's back in the news.
I hate this.
Fightful Select. Basically on the, I mean, it's the sort of least believable, will they, won't they, in terms of him working WrestleMania 41. But off the back of him appearing at Bad Blood, there was then a story that came out, I think from the Observer, that said he wasn't on the docket for 41, but then The Rock replied to an Instagram comment saying, yeah, I am saying that. Words to that effect, you know. So it's all been back and forth, but everybody has fantasy booked him versus Cody. Then last week there was discussion about, is it going to be a singles match or a three-way involving Roman Reigns? And you can kind of piece all that sort of stuff together. Yeah, but Fightful Select have come through with some brilliant reporting, as per usual, just to say, quote, one WWE source said it's hard to predict what The Rock is going to do 6 months out because he's going to do pretty well what he wants from a career and appearance perspective. Another WWE producer said that if The Rock decides shortly before a show he wants to appear, he will. Several others have said as of right now, they've not been given any messaging that The Rock won't appear at WrestleMania. As far as WWE Bad Blood, we're told this wasn't something that had a lot of heavy planning, but the possibility of him appearing became a reality in the weeks prior. This is what led up to the main event, being Roman and Cody versus the Bloodline. A few days before the show, we're told that WWE got solid confirmation The Rock would appear. Yes, he was doing like a charity/fundraiser appearance, near enough that he could make it, and they booked a big Bloodline main event. Here's the thing with the old Great One Ski. My spidey senses at the moment are one of the reasons why WWE appeared to be speedrunning a lot of the awesome moments in the Bloodline story is because Triple H doesn't want to repeat what happened this year. He knows that he can get to maybe Survivor Series and all of his cool moments that he's had planned out can actually happen if he just does them now. I'm sure, knowing how Triple H plots and books, he would have liked to sort of put like a 3-week gap between this one and a 4-week gap between this one. And recently it's gone bang, 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 bang to get us to the big cage match at Survivor Series. I am sure a little bit of that is because he knows that inside the brain of Dwayne, he's kind of only thinking January or April. Yeah. He's not that bothered about what he does and when, but like there's discussion about him showing up on the first Raw at Netflix. The Inuit Arena seems to think they're going to get him, and that stands to reason. You know, he's got vested interest in this as a shareholder as well. It's not just as a performer, and it's many seasons he's going to do what he effing well likes, and he's not going to censor himself like I did either.
No.
So I think that's why we're seeing WWE happening the way it's happening, because Triple H is almost preparing. The Rock's like the richest, most jacked toddler, just coming in and smashing everything up. Like, nice plans, F-wad. Like, look at you now, Paul. So
what's the geezer that built Pinocchio called? What's that geezer?
Oh, Geppetto.
Yeah, that's Triple H. He's making these little puppets and he's coming in the blooming Big Dwayne's coming in and just smashing the place up.
The Rock is literally Boss Baby.
He is the baby from Spirited Away.
That's it.
There you go. That's The Rock.
But yes, I think that's why we're seeing WWE the way we are, because I think they are almost preparing for the earthquake that is Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Just coming and mess stuff up. I love it. I kind of love it. Both are good. This is the thing.
Both of them are good. I would quite like to fast forward to the period where The Rock is on Twitter cutting F and S, and I don't think he's ever called anyone to see you next Tuesday, but if he did, just swearing. I want The Rock swearing on social media. C. Yeah, calling Cody's dog Ted and all this stuff.
Hey Gunther, your name begins with a C. We're not even working together. Try that one on.
Yeah.
Just because he can.
Cunfer. That doesn't make any sense.
Serving cunt.
He'll be serving all over the place. I love The Rock.
Look, it's Sean Ross Sapp doing great work with and Fightful Select doing great work with actual sources, with actual information. It's The Rock in it. He'll be back soon enough.
Yeah, The Rock does what The Rock wants. You're not going to stop him. As Apollo Crews once sang, you can't stop. That's right, isn't it?
This whole news video's got an error 440. I know that.
I think we should probably just write this one off forever and ever. But yes, I love The Rock. The only wrestling t-shirt I have bought in like the past few years was a Final Boss one that I'm now too fat for. But we'll, like The Rock, I will rectify this bad situation before WrestleMania.
Final Boss Baby.
Let us know your favourite babies who are wrestlers.
Boss Baby 2. Let us know in the comments below.
Right, let's talk about... it's a slow news day. It's a good job this is a piss take. Something in WWE getting a bigger reception than people expected. Wow. Right, positive, good. They're taking notice of this and they're going, oh wow, that's good. We should maybe ride with this. It was the Jacob Fatu Braun Breaker stare down from Raw.
Yeah.
This is according to WrestleVotes on the Backstage Pass podcast with Bill Apter, the legend, still in the game. You love to see it.
He's awesome.
That got a bigger pop, a bigger reception than people were expecting, which they believe bodes well. Fans now are presumably chomping at the bit to see a full-time program between these two. I mean, they'd lay the crap out of each other. It'd be great.
Yeah. The build to Bron Breakker and Jey Uso focus on Bron saying how my family's always kicked your family's ass, and then he lost the Intercontinental title but won it back, saying, look, a Steiner always beats a Samoan in the end. And partway through that, we got almost seemingly the accidental crossing over of worlds between Jacob and Bron because the Bloodline invaded Raw. But maybe that wasn't so much an accident. Sometimes in wrestling, you have the opportunity to test the waters with stuff and just do a straw poll there and then. They've done it recently with Goldberg and Gunther. What was a cameo suddenly became people fantasy booking run-ins and matches for Saudi shows and all sorts.
Gage versus Gunther.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So I think like this is another one of those cases where either happy accident or sort of planned live survey, they've kind of gotten what they wanted here, which is a positive response to the idea. And as well, I think it's a good example of what a modern WWE should look like in terms of its future matches. Bron Breakker, yes, he's got obviously family history with the Steiners, but ultimately they can absolutely claim him as a developmental prospect done good. Meanwhile, Jacob Fatu, again, bonded by the family lines, but has had a full wrestling career outside of WWE and has been brought in. And this is an example of being like, oh, you can sign and develop and create matches of the two of them. It's no longer just this forced, no, you've got to be this cookie cutter jacked guy from our terrible development system in the 2000s.
Jackson Andrews.
Yeah, or you've got to be whoever, like William Regal spied on DVD in the mid-2010s. Like, there's no sort of like set way now. This is kind of how, this is the WWE we grew up on, was Vince McMahon pilfering the best of the various territories and a few of his favourites and mashing them together. So this is how it should go.
That's how it started in the 80s in the first place. He put them all on his TV show and went, don't worry guys, this will be great for you, and then he stole them all. And that's how it worked. Hulk Hogan being the most famous example of that. But like Bron Breakker had what I'm pretty sure his cage match has one indie match before WWE, so it's not like he was making towns or anything like that. So you can absolutely rightly call him a ground up guy, even though he obviously has an athletic background because he played football and stuff like that. He's
got genetics in the business.
Exactly. So it's good fun stuff, and the thing is, they'll actually do it. It's been well received. If this happened 4 years ago and it was well received, you probably wouldn't see it because Vince was incompetent. So at least now you have Paul Levesque, who Stevie Richards has some very complimentary words for, who will actually listen to the crowd and go, oh, okay, I'll do that then. Might not be today, might not be tomorrow, might not be a month from now. But it'll happen, and it'll probably be good because they both rule. So there you go.
Yeah, Paul Levesque, long before he was executive producer on a film a week on Fridays, he was executive producing how he looked.
Film a week.
Executive producing how he looked in video games. All the heads like us may remember this story from the time about Triple H allegedly, per whispers from ex-writers and the like, not wanting to be perceived as weak in WWE video game copy. So whether that was a reviewer's text or indeed images, still images, footage of the game. We all had a good laugh at the time because that was peak Triple H reign of terror. You are such a loser, mate. Why are you so immature and insecure? Grow up. You're in the family now. But that story was one of many at the time that seemed to position Triple H as this insecure narcissist political figure. And Stevie Richards, somebody that was in the machine at the time, has added a bit of colour to that all years later. A, confirming it was true, and B, adding an extra bit of seasoning, salt Stevie, to the pie. So he was speaking on his very successful YouTube channel where he discussed a memo that was sent out that didn't just talk about Triple H in the video game, but was also adding to a story that was doing the rounds about Rene Dupree and his body making the game feel sad. Steve Richards' quote was, so what he was saying was that Triple H wasn't allowed to be shown in a vulnerable position in any promotional material, and then noted that a seamstress backstage had to write Dupree's measurements down a size as being smaller than they were because his measurements as a shoot were bigger than the game's. Richards added, you know what, dude's a legend, he was a perennial main eventer, he runs a company, he's revered, so I guess Renee and I are the idiots for not paying attention to the things that are most important, like not looking vulnerable in the video game and making sure on paper you have the biggest quads in the company.
What the hell?
So now, go back and watch your old Renee Dupree tapes if you can stomach that era of WWE, and just look for the knee pads and the trunks and wonder why, if they're looking a little bit smaller, it's to shrink Dupree's size on screen, lest he look bigger on the game.
Would that, like, the thing, like, if his actual attire was being made smaller, would that not just make him look bigger? Like, if it's squeezing and like, is his muscles not just gonna be like, pa-cha?
But you know what this made me think of, right? So La Resistance initially debuted in like sort of long, like black, white, and yellow tights,
Yes.
and then switched to trunks. And I wonder if it's because the tights were the things that Triple H was like, you can get them smaller to start
Maybe.
with. So they were like, right, well then more skin. What can you do with our shoot bodies?
Yeah. What was Sylvain Grenier? Was he not an underwear model or some kind of model?
They were all
So,
pieces.
yeah.
Like them and Rob Conway, the three of them were just total pieces.
Just look at him, as they say. Triple H.
Triple H is a weird guy.
He's a silly little guy. Yeah, it's a slow news day. That's why we put this sack of weird stuff at the end here. But hey, it's kind of funny.
I like
it's
it.
Laughing at people in power is fun, man.
I think this is it. And like, the thing about it now is that he doesn't get talked about a lot because he doesn't really like to put himself out there.
No, he doesn't.
Like,
He's very modest.
He'll probably appreciate us discussing this on the news. Like, it was Wade on SmackDown on Friday. Orton wanted him to come out of the ring, and I was like, "What are you doing? You're not hiding nothing." But he did. He actually came to the ring and he acknowledged that he's the boss and stuff. So, I like a bit of a rare sighting.
Yeah, I know you don't like to come out here, Paul, but come on down, come on down.
The game in the store is kind of a collector's item for you, the viewers, as well as Paul himself.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, thanks for tuning in today, unless you are an eel, in which case go back to the river and
sling it, eels.
Yeah, get out of here, eel. We don't like you, eel. Eel. Video. Bye.